Welcome to the Book Faire Podcast. My name is Anthony, and coming up in this episode, we have some new releases, including trans youth representation in a middle grade novel by author Robin Gao. We also have an update on library litigation from Book Riot, and communities in Minnesota are stepping up in support of those impacted by increased presence by immigration and customs enforcement. Let's begin with a look at notable new releases, starting with Suuban's First Day, a first day of herding story by Shugri, Salh, and illustrated by Àlàbá Ònájìn. A child grows into new responsibilities around the rhythms of the natural world in this captivating tale that's per an endnote by Salh, based on the author's childhood in the deserts of Somalia. Though she loves to feed the goats, camels, and sheep that her family herds, Suuban wanted to do something more than just help with the animals. Responding to Suuban's questions about when she can herd the goats alone, her grandmother, Ayo, answers, "When you lose your front teeth, an event that will occur when 4 full moons pass, and when you hear the frogs sing out from the pond." Sure enough, at the height of the 4th moon, as soft rain began to fall, Suuban tongues her front tooth, and it comes out. And after getting a baby goat to butt the 2nd tooth, Suuban gains the ability to herd solo, and the challenges that come with it. Àlàbá Ònájìn renders Suuban and her charges in gauche-style digital illustrations that offer sweeping views of the landscape, from which quick-thinking Suuban, given a measure of autonomy, gleans insight into resourcefulness and persistence. This book is recommended for ages 3 to 6. The next title for this week is Reach by Celesta Rimington. A tween struggles to undo the unprecedented result of an impulsive wish in this empathetic, speculative novel. 12-year-old Denver wants to be left alone to tinker with his robotics experiments. Instead, he is forced to spend the summer entertaining his younger stepbrother, Harlan, while their parents work at an Idaho lakeside resort. Exploring the nearby forest on his own, Denver is amazed to find he can communicate with the trees, and he forms a friendship with an isolated, ailing ponderosa named Spiro. Things turn sideways when Harlan, who can also talk to foliage, accepts Spiro's offer to be temporarily transformed into a tree. Promising to check on Harlan later, Denver returns to the resort and discovers that no one, not even their parents, remembers that Harlan exists. And when Spiro's forest magic fails to return Harlan to human form, Denver must figure out how to save his brother and Spiro before it's too late. Considering Denver's complex feelings surrounding his parents' divorce and his shifting relationship with Harlan, author Rimington forms parallel narratives about the impact of grief and change across families. Denver cues as white, Harlan is described as olive-skinned, and this book is recommended for ages 10 and up. Next is Eureka by Victoria Chang. Chang vividly renders discrimination and racism experienced by those of Chinese heritage in 1880s California through the eyes of a 12-year-old Chinese immigrant in this dynamic novel in verse. In 1884 San Francisco, Mei Mei is not permitted by law to attend public school with American children. Instead, she is educated by white teachers in the basement of a church and learns reading and writing in her native Cantonese at a Chinese school. Using her big, strong feet, so unlike Mama's bound ones, each broken toe like a lotus flower petal, Mei Mei explores her neighborhood, but her independence is soon curtailed when, worried about increasing violence toward Chinese people, her parents send her to live with relatives up north in Eureka, believing it to be safer than San Francisco. But in Eureka, Mei Mei's aunt arranges for the tween to work as a kitchen aide for a rich white family. During her employ, she's taunted by the family's racist son, Lester, and secretly befriends their daughter, Sarah, who furthers Mei's English education. First-person verse depicts the conditions of the period, viscerally establishing the wrenching baseline of bias and cruelty that saw Chinese residents living in wooden shacks, while white families resided in multi-story row houses with big windows. A contextualizing author's note details the passing of the 1882 Chinese Exclusion Act, and this book is recommended for ages 10 to 14. Next is Run Home by Alyssa Bermudez. Organized as diary entries starting on September 1st, 2002, this moving graphic novel memoir by Bermudez follows the creator as she struggles to navigate 9th grade at a New York City all-girls school. 13-year-old Alyssa is lonely. None of her friends from middle or elementary school attend Mary Louis Academy. Adding insult to injury, her divorced parents agree that she must try out for an athletic team, as if being completely uncoordinated at sports would help her social situation. Settling on cross-country, Alyssa soon realizes that running is much more difficult than she expected. Still, the friendships she cultivates on the team make the effort worthwhile. Despite finally feeling comfortable at school, her home life becomes more complicated when her father remarries. Jewel-toned illustrations depict Alyssa's comedic high school antics, interspersed throughout her annotated journal entries. It's a heartfelt and touching exploration of identity, loss, friendship, and family that offers hopeful messaging about turning to loved ones for support, developing positive coping mechanisms, and being open to any and every opportunity for personal growth. An author's note and playlist conclude. Alyssa's mother is white and her father is Puerto Rican. This book is recommended for ages 10 to 14. And the last book to look at this week is Sabretooth by Robin Gao. Complex ruminations on gender identity, loneliness, and neurodiversity accompany layered interpretations of grief and anger in this eloquent verse novel. All summer long, autistic and transgender incoming 8th grader Jasper Amato's older brother, Callan, has been promising that they would go fossil hunting together around their rural Pennsylvania home. The two are close. Callan, Jasper's only friend, even helped him choose a name when Jasper came out a year ago. But when summer ends and Callan prepares to leave for college, Jasper purposefully breaks his brother's laptop. As 8th grade begins, the youth feels as if his heart is full of magma bubbling and then cooling, contending with a deep sense of spite and abandonment. Jasper begins his own backyard dig. He's soon terrified when he hears a voice from underground. Here, I am here. The buried entity claims to be a saber-toothed tiger who pleads for Jasper to unearth them. When Jasper succeeds, however, he realizes that the mysterious being is something far more frightening than the saber-toothed tigers on the posters that adorn his bedroom wall. Utilizing spare and stirring free verse, author Gao artfully explores the sometimes turbulent emotions that come with growing up and growing apart, culminating in a heartening, deeply felt work. The family cue is white, and this book is recommended for ages 10 to 14. Now let's take a look at some notable headlines, starting with a look at library legislation updates from bookriot.com. First off, libraries in the state of Maine had previously proposed an administrative policy that would require all public libraries in the state to have paid directors and meet a minimum number of operating hours to receive access to all library services. This would have a massive impact on rural libraries that may not have a large number of staff members. The Library Commission has backed out of this proposed change, though there may be more other potential policy proposals coming from the state of Maine throughout the rest of 2026. Next, from Illinois, with ongoing threats to libraries and public areas in blue states by ICE, Illinois has passed security grants for state libraries. This means that there is money available for branches to add or increase security measures to help protect their patrons. And New York governor vetoes right to read bill. The headline says it all. Democratic governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, vetoes a bill that would have fought back against book bans in school libraries. Governor Hochul expanded on her decision, stating that the bill would do more to confuse than clarify, and that school libraries already have a large degree of control over collections. While I personally feel that rejecting a bill passed by state legislatures to protect libraries is a misstep, the governor laid out a good case for her decision. Not a perfect case that I would agree with the veto, but New York does have better protections against book banning groups. There are not nearly as many challenges compared to conservative states like Florida and Texas. I have no ire for Governor Hochul. I am not outwardly saying that this is a definitively bad decision. It is simply missing an opportunity to signal to constituents unwavering support for the freedom to read. This next story comes from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where local bookstores are offering help to the local community impacted by immigrations and custom enforcement. Publishers Weekly reached out to independent bookstores last week and found that more than 10 of them had made adjustments to daily operations in response to ICE's presence in the Twin Cities area. 2 children's bookstores are named in this article as having further challenges. Wild Rumpus in Minneapolis and Red Balloon Bookshop in St. Paul are being hit harder, with authors canceling public appearances and families staying at home with local schools offering remote instruction. Wild Rumpus co-owner Timothy Ote said, quote, "Our store is a refuge for those who need it," end quote. Meanwhile, Red Balloon's owner Holly Weinkauf said, quote, "One of the most important things we can do and are doing right now, in addition to getting books to the increasing number of kids staying home from school, is to continue being a place of joy for our kids, families, and community," end quote. In that spirit, both stores are maintaining regular operating hours and story time schedules. Both stores have seen a significant impact on traffic, with only Wild Rumpus reporting a slight drop in sales. Red Balloon is working with organizations to provide Spanish-language books to families who are keeping school-aged children at home. And, more on that, the final story for this week. Continuing with stories from Minnesota, the Community Aid Network is running a book drive. Community Aid Network Minnesota, along with local schools, are helping to bring books, both English and Spanish titles, to children staying out of school, while ICE is targeting communities in the state. Right now, the book drive is in need for mostly Spanish titles for ages 0 to 11. For people near the Twin Cities area, Red Balloon Bookshop is gathering donations in-store or through online purchases at redballoonbookshop.com. If you want to make a purchase, you can use the code CANMN20. Communities are being targeted by the current presidential administration. Take some time to check out the book drive and consider purchasing something through Red Balloon Bookshop's website and find ways to help support your community. This will conclude another episode of the Book Faire Podcast. If you wish to find more information about these stories, you can go to patreon.com/thebookfair. You can follow on Patreon for free, and there are no posts hidden behind a paywall. There you can find episodes posted early, as well as links to news sources used throughout the show. You can also find the link for the book drive on Blue Sky if you follow the show at Book Faire Pod. And if you like the work being done on the Book Faire Podcast, you can show your support by liking, commenting, or following wherever you are currently listening to help push the show out to new listeners. But the best way to help the Book Faire Podcast is simply to share it with a friend, an educator, or a young reader in your life. Come back this Friday for a new episode of the Book Faire Podcast, featuring an interview with Charlotte Jones Voikless, granddaughter and executor of the estate for Madeleine L'Engle, the author of A Wrinkle in Time. Thank you so very much for listening, and as always, I'll talk at you next time.